Good morning to everyone. It's the first time for me here at NEM. I feel so lucky to participate. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Nikolaos Foukas. I'm a product manager in Cosmote TV, the leading pay TV service in Greece. We have seen a lot of interesting topics here, and we are going to analyze such one later on in our panel. So this is about the data, how the data drives the TV business, okay? So some words about me. I started my career in DVB-T as engineer, and I had the great opportunity to participate in the pay TV service in Greece from 2008 in OTE, starting with the IPTV service to the satellite service as well, and to the OTT service. So please allow me to say a couple of words about my company. OTE is the biggest telecom company in Greece, is the biggest technology company in Greece as well. So you can see the numbers here. The vast majority of our Greek customers trust us in order for their subscriptions in the fixed mobile, in the broadband, in the 5G mobile service, and to the pay TV as well. We are part of the Deutsche Telekom Group. Of course, everybody knows the Deutsche Telekom Group. It's one of the largest telecom providers in the world with a proven global super brand. One also important thing to mention about OTE is that except of investing in big networks and fixed networks and fiber optics and 5G, we also look into different areas like the fintech, okay? So I don't know if you have heard, but Paisy has started already a pilot operation with TT Germany. So with that said, welcome to the world of Cosmote TV. We need to set where we stand right now, okay? We have approximately 700,000 customers, which the half of them are watching the satellite service. We used to have the hybrid service where the customers were connected through the internet in order to enjoy the catch-up and the VOD, but we needed to abandon this service, right? So we have the half of the customers watching the satellite service only with a linear channels. And in parallel, we have launched in 2019 the over-the-top service, okay? So as you can understand, we try somehow to slowly migrate the customers from the satellite service to over-the-top. This is not an easy task. It's a big challenge because, as you probably know, in Greece there are a lot of beautiful islands and highlands. So it's very convenient for the customers, satellite users, to have the satellite service, okay? Also, for the OTT service, I need to mention that the customers can use a big variety of devices, starting with a set-top box mainly, going to the smart TVs like Samsung, LG, to the mobile devices, iOS and Android, web, of course, and recently we have added the Amazon Fire Sticks. What our subscribers can watch. We are very proud, saying that we have built our own studios and we can create our own local in-house productions, VOD productions. Some of them are 4K resolution as well. In parallel, we have created our sports channels where the customers can see big major events. We have settled the exclusive rights currently for the next 3 years for the big football events. One more thing that I would like to add about Cosmote TV is that our team continuously tries to add new features that will improve the customer engagement and experience. Features like Chromecast, we're doing some tests with an AirPlay right now. Also, we have provided the ability to our customers to download the content and watch it later when the Wi-Fi is off, and features like this. So please, I will welcome you to reach me outside to show you what we have done with our application. Let's go to our main point. Gnous prate. This is said by a very famous Greek philosopher, Pittacus, okay? Which means act with awareness. act when you know. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with the data usage? I will answer that in a minute. So this moves us to the next question. What are we aware of? First, in our platform, we have several tools that we can use in order to have an overview of the video quality of our subscribers, okay? So we can measure the errors, we can measure the bufferings, we can measure the zapping time, we can measure the crashes, right? But it's important to say that we use several tools, not once. It's not an easy task. Second category, we used to have Nielsen, and along with other tools, second category is the content. We could have the VOD titles watched by our customers, the VOD genre, the type of the films that they're watching, or the content they are watching, like sports, documentaries, etc., the live channel, and the live program. Category number 3, devices. We have configured very useful reports that allow us to define and to know what type of devices our users have, okay? At the terms of OS, at the terms of models, etc. The brand, Samsung, LG, Android devices, and all that. So, under the statement, act when you know, how do we act? As you can understand, in content, when you know the title, when you know the genre, when you know the frequency that the subscribers are consuming the content, you can understand that you can align with the studio. You can align, for our case, you can align with our own production. How do we drive our own productions? So the overall goal is the audience best experience. At the terms of performance, when you monitor your customers, the performance, you can be proactive, right? It's easy to understand also that. You can engage the call centers with the overall goal to prevent somehow the customer faults, all right? So this is not always the case, but we use that very often. Now for the devices, I've got a very accurate example to provide to you, how we use data on the devices. Smart TVs are getting old, right? So once we have, a couple of years before, we have identified that older smart TVs are not capable to have some features like Dolby, right? So we needed to have several software to maintain several software for the same brand. Okay, so these help us, knowing the data, knowing how many customers use this type of devices, they gave us the opportunity to have a decision on, for instance, if we can cut off those subscribers, okay? And to maintain just a single software for one brand, right? So this was another benefit of having the data. What is missing in our case? We would like to have the full journey of the user, right? So we have the video player right now, we have other things, but we don't have the the full journey of the subscribers, right? From the login to how they act into the UI, in our application, and then to finally watch something in their screens. Okay, we don't have this full journey. We don't know the customer behavior. We would like to have that. Furthermore, since we have several profiles in our application and in our platform, we would like also to know how our different profiles, kids, adults, etc., react into our application. Okay? This is also something important that we would like to know. Now, during all this journey of data usage and data collection, there are a lot of challenges. Okay? So if you could ask me what is the big one, right now I could say this one, the customer consent. This is a very important topic. Since we are communicating with different companies, with TV vendors, under our experience as well, knowing the competition, we have identified, we know that majority, a very huge percentage of users, of subscribers, do not consent in order to provide the anonymized data into our platform. We need to convince those customers that this is for their own good. We can create something wow for them. We can create a unique experience for them. This is one topic also that we're going to discuss in the panel. That said, based on this big challenge, I would like to drive a clear message for the data usage. Data is very important. It has been proven in theory and in practice as well. But first of all, we need to know what type of data do we need, right? Not all the information of the subscribers is useful for us, for the platform. Second, how can we turn this data collection and data usage into business decisions, right? And the third one is to see if there are any other customer challenges that we have on our way, okay? Like the one that I pointed out. So thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed my presentation. I will be happy to meet you all afterwards. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So really appreciated that you prefer to be in here and not out there on the pool somewhere. I took the liberty, if you look at the program, to change my presentation slightly, not to just focus on monetization, but actually on a bit a wider selection of topics around data and, as you can see, non-data-driven topics. But maybe just because not everyone knows who Sky Switzerland is or who I am, obviously. A few words about that. My name is Daniel. I'm the Chief Product Officer of Sky Switzerland. And I have quite a long story before I joined Sky 2 years ago in telco. So Swisscom is basically the incumbent operator in Switzerland. And there, first I started as a dev, software developer, and then later on, I joined the TV team, where I spent 10 years first doing what we call nowadays super integration, so basically building an app store for an AOSP Android platform that was built by Swisscom back then, because there was no Android TV that was suitable to use for IPTV, so we basically had to build our own solution back then. And then later on, I built a lot of these small, nice devices with our Asian partners. So set-top boxes, we started with 2016. We had the first UHD HDR capable box, almost first worldwide of an operator. And then later on, we also built quite innovative stuff like this nice thing that you see here. It was in that voice assistant hype, so it had a far-field voice integration, a voice assistant built into that box. Then, 2 years ago, I joined Sky, where I work today as a Chief Product Officer, and the product within Sky means basically everything from road mapping to project management to development, QA, and then go-to-market. That being said, Sky Switzerland is maybe a bit different than what you think when you hear Sky. Sky Switzerland is 50 people today. So quite a small team doing everything from marketing to all the technology platforms, basically everything that is needed to run a streaming service. The only thing that we get from the Sky Group is they help us with the content deals. Now, what do we offer? There's 3 services. First one is Sky Show, subscription video on demand. Second is Sky Sport, sports offering. I'm coming back to that a bit later. And Sky Store, which is a transactional video on demand service. We do all of that in one app. And the point is, it's really just an app. We don't have any own hardware. We do not have any set-top boxes. In fact, that was one of the first things that I did when I joined Sky. I basically recommended to kill the hardware that they had in place, because for me, if you have a hardware, you need to run it as a platform. So you need to do that super aggregation with the apps and everything. We just don't have the scale in terms of the team size to do that, so we focused on purely being an application. Sometimes, I don't know if you know these guys, sometimes it feels a bit like that, because we are 50 people. We are competing in a market where Netflix, Amazon Prime, The Zone, Disney Plus, all of the big players are present, and sometimes it feels a bit like those guys have an army of developers. They're covering the whole world, and we are doing our stuff for small Switzerland. What do I want to share with you today? I think it's always helpful to have examples. So real-world examples of how we use data, and sometimes not data, but more the common sense, or asking the people to evolve our product. First of all, I'm going to let you read that. Some people, this will remind of something, right? Would you put your reputation on the line to recommend a service or a company? And this is the famous NPS, the Net Promoter Score, where you ask people, how likely is it that you will recommend our service to friends and colleagues? And this is a metric, a data collection that we heavily rely on with everything that we do. For some time, we did email surveys. Today, we switched it a bit, and we are actually asking within the application. What's the advantage of this? Basically, you have data every day. So you can always watch at the NPS dashboard, and you get a number of like 500 people every day who are answering that question. So you can then start to correlate that number with what's happening, right? If you have, for example, an incident, or you're launching a new feature or whatever, you directly see what's happening in the market. Word of caution there, what you need to be careful with if you do that is don't trust the daily data. Go for the weekly, monthly, or even quarterly, because the daily data is much more noise than signal, actually. Then, as I told you, we have basically two worlds that we work with. One is sport, and the other one is fiction. The thing is, when we look at our data, the overlap between the two, so the Sky Switzerland customer who actually gets everything from us, sports and fiction, that's 10%. So there's a huge separation. There's fiction customers, sports customers, they don't overlap that much. And this is one of the big questions that we are trying to tackle somehow. It's not a simple thing to do. You could, for example, start merging both worlds, right? So in the fiction interface, you start showing sports offerings and so on, but you have to be careful that it's not feels like it's in the way or not what people want to see. At least on the marketing side, I think we recently did something quite cool. I mean, this is obviously more relevant for Swiss people, but the guy that you see here is Jan Sommer. That's the legendary goalkeeper of the Swiss national football team. And we did a small social media campaign, basically merging the House of the Dragon launch, as you can see here with what he's wearing and the styling and everything with the sports world. The other thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is the fragmentation in streaming. What does fragmentation mean? I noticed yesterday that it's not the same thing for everyone. With fragmentation, I mean that as a customer of streaming services, you have to kind of have a map in your head. If you want to watch House of the Dragon, then I go to HBO or Sky. If I want to watch a certain sports event like Bundesliga, I go to The Zone or Sky, and then you have a ton of apps that are installed and a lot of different subscriptions and so on. Honestly, there we don't need data to know that customers think it's this. It's not fun for them, right? They need to navigate between those apps. They need to have different subscriptions and so on. And also there we came up with a few things. So I mentioned at the beginning this super aggregation that a lot of operators are doing. Now we are a streamer. We cannot do super aggregation because we don't have a platform. We are an app. So what we managed to do in sports is we basically managed to bring all the big brands that you can see here on the top line in Switzerland together. And now people in Switzerland can subscribe to and watch all the sports within the same app with Sky Switzerland. That's what we call this in-app integration. And I think it's really extremely user-friendly. So what is that supposed to mean? If you're working for an operator, you don't have that problem that much. Because basically, your customers stay much longer. It's much more solid, right? But for us, it's like every month people are coming in and out. What we did against that was loyalty pricing, for example. So if you stay 6 months, and that's the threshold where people usually, if they stay 6 months, they stay. They don't churn anymore. So after 6 months, you drop into another price bracket. We did the same thing in fiction recently, and also we made those tiers, where you have here on the left side, even now a tier, like everyone does that, I think in the streaming market soon, with the ads that is a bit cheaper to cover another audience as well. And then, so one really important part for me is the UX. And for the UX part, it's my really opinion that we have to take everything into consideration, all the data that we can collect. So basically NPS that I mentioned before, everything that you see, like feedback forms that we have in the app where people can give you feedback, what people tell you that you know, friends and family, you need to track, and that's really important, all the counters that you get from the different app stores and so on about stability. You need to as well make sure that you don't ignore small technical issues, but that's an important point because there you still have to decide, right? If it's a technical issue, a small technical issue that concerns a big group, so for example, Samsung TVs or an operator box, you need to take care of that. Sometimes if there are only 12 people on a certain device, obviously not. For me, the important point on the UX is to be fast and agile and really reduce it also. If you see that a feature is not used, kill it, remove it, not relevant anymore. So yeah, I hope I was able to give you a bit of an insight there, and wish you an excellent event. Thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm Bruno, part of Nice People at Work. Yes, we are proud of being nice. It's one of the company policies. We need to. I'm here today after such good presentations from my colleagues they came with real-world examples. I came to talk about capabilities, especially from the product analytics point of view, what we can do, especially, but focusing on what's possible, not on what NPAW can do, but what would be possible right now and how does that contribute to our daily work with a video service to have product analytics and to understand that as a unified solution in a way. So when we talk about data-driven processes, data-driven strategies, it's important to have in a way, holistic, we have a lot of buzzwords and so on, but that's true, to have a holistic solution that gives us all the comprehension of everything that we are doing, and that's what we at NPAW try to provide. So we have a lot of different data solutions, from quality of experience, product, business, marketing, infrastructure, and so on, that aim on providing this, let's say, the data intelligence that is needed for any video service to operate. That's our main focus as a company. We work with a bunch of broadcasters, telcos, OTT platforms around the globe. We are proud of covering that globally on the product analytics vertical, let's say, because we have specific solutions for each of those verticals. And on product analytics, we work globally and we learn a lot as well. And that learning is what we take into account to build our product. And just wanted to give some ideas of what we have as a concept when we talk about product analytics for a video business. It's important to say that, or to start with, what is the product when we talk about product analytics. So for a video business, a product encapsulates everything. So it's the content, it's the apps, the interface that users are using, it's their interaction with our teams, so the communication, the way that we talk to them or listen to them, the streaming technology, so if we are having, I don't know, live content, VOD, etc., the business models, if we are AVOD, SVOD, so all of that, and the security and privacy that we provide to them, all of that is our product. So all of that is offered to the customers. And when we want to understand the business performance and also the audience behavior and how to improve the business results as a whole and so on, we need to understand this full picture, and we need to be able to correlate the data that we get from each of those, let's say, pieces of the business, which we know that it's a challenge for video businesses. This is a generic issue that we have, so the hard time that we have, or the difficulty on integrating, not only integrating data, it's not about data, it's integrating departments and processes and having people working together. So having the content editorialization team working together with the product team, or with the, I don't know, the team that is dealing with the video player, or with the CRM, or the marketing. So to have all those teams integrated is hard. And from the data perspective, it's even harder, because usually we have one specific system to each team. Each system says something that it's different from the other. So everyone is looking at its own silo in a way and trying to draw some conclusions. So it's pretty hard to make them work together if they have separated systems and separated data. So one of the key aspects of product analytics, and again, when I talk about product analytics, I'm not talking about NPAW product analytics. I'm talking about this analytics that is providing data intelligence around the whole product from a video service. It can be from NPAW or from any provider, but we need to be able to align our understanding of the audience, the consumption, the content performance, the UI UX, so how the users use the applications, how do they navigate the user journey, their response to the campaigns that we launch, the actions that we take, as Daniel was saying, so how do they use the features that we provide to them. So all of that understanding needs to be, in a way, correlated and integrated for us to put all the departments together and discuss the product and evolve the product towards the results that we want for the business. So that includes this understanding of who is watching what, for how long, how often, what's the preferences of the audience, how's the onboarding behavior. So when you look at the user's life cycle and we take information from our acquisitions, let's say, what the users are doing when they just arrive in the platform, what is the first page that they visit, the first content that they watch, how's the behavior of that specific segment of the users, how's the overall engagement pattern from the sessions that the users have, how much time do they spend in the app, how many contents do they watch per session, and so on. So that understanding around the consumption and audience activity, it's one of the, let's say, key aspects, but it's just the starting point. So we need also to take into account the user's navigation, user journey, content placement, so where the users are watching content from. Am I really, let's say, generating impressions of all the catalog that I'm investing on? So what's the meaning of buying a lot of content and then leaving that in the catalog and just surfacing 10%, 15% of the catalog that we know that is popular or something like that, but not really making use of the catalog that we are investing on. So all that understanding needs to be put together in a product analytics solution for them to understand audience, to understand content, and how to to drive better results for the business. For the audience perspective, it's also very important for us to understand that we don't have just one kind of audience or one kind of user. So we have, all the users are different for sure. Usually they can be grouped in specific segments depending on their characteristics, their behavior, consumption preferences, the devices that they use or the type of technology that they prefer. If they do more passive viewing, active viewing, so all those aspects can be used to segment the audience and needs to be used for both, let's say, talking uniquely to each segment, so talking to their language, promoting the content that is important for them, recommending the content that is relevant for them, but also the way that we listen to them. Because one segment should give us positive signs or negative signs, and this means a totally different thing for a different type of segment. For instance, a segment of, I don't know, 30 years old people that are just coming into my platform once a week and watching one piece of content and so on, it's one signal. The same signal for another segment of users that are, I don't know, 18 to 22 means a totally different thing. And this is just demographics, but also in the location differences, in the preferences of types of content, in the life cycle stage, lifetime that they have. So all those aspects represents a very important difference in the way that we read the data and interpret the data to understand our audience. And the same is for the content. So the content is king. No need to talk more about this buzzword, but the content is king. We know that, but it's not just one king. So we have a lot of kings in the catalog, and it's important to know them well. So to know them about based on the metadata that they have, but also based on the relation that they have with the audience. So we can have contents that are contributing a lot for our acquisition, so are bringing in a lot of new users to our platform, but they are not retaining them. So they are leaving after that because we are missing contents that are making them stay, or making them active, or retaining them for more time. So to understand the content is key for us to then, when we are going for content acquisition, so I'll go for, I don't know, 30% more on this type of content, 20% more, because my business plan for next year is to retain more, to acquire more users, to generate more playtime, whatever the objective. So it's key for us to understand the content also on a very detail. And then the thing is that knowing that from an audience and content perspective, or from a product perspective, it's what will give us the capability to target the right audience through the right channels, provide the right content to get the expected results. So through the acquisition, to know which marketing channel is working better, for which segment, which content should I use in my promotions. For the activation, which content is more powerful to activate the users that we have inactive. From the engagement perspective, which content is making the users binge. The same for retention, so which content retains the most, and so on. And for all the initiatives that we have, both for content editorialization, content promotions, and the platform, let's say, overall evolution. And just to conclude, this is my last one. What we wanted to say from product analytics perspective is that we need to know the why, always. So we always talk about data. Data is important, data is relevant. Yes, it is. But most of the times we are getting the what. So what is happening? Or how is it happening? To which users and so on. But we don't know why. So we have increased our churn rate. We have decreased our playtime, or the opposite, but we don't know why. We are successful or we are failing, but we don't know why. So the point with product analytics, and that's the goal that we have as well, and we believe that this is the path to go, is to know why. So we first need to know why. We first need to be data-driven to understand, let's say, the correlation of the different data that we are collecting, and establish a data-driven process. And to establish a data-driven process, we need to know why. And if we don't establish a data-driven process, this is the point. We cannot use AI to improve our business or nothing like that. So AI won't substitute a content acquisition manager or a content acquisition team, but we'll support it. But to support it, we first need to have the right data, we need to correct the right information, and we need to correlate that in a way that it's meaningful, and what we say from the data is the why. So we have better results because you have acquired this content. We had better results because we have made this change or taken this decision, and so on. So the product analytics first objective is to provide this why, taking into account the whole solution. For then we can go for right recommendations, churn prediction, churn prevention, speed up decision making, and all the capabilities that we can get out of AI. Of course, we can provide recommendations already today, but we don't know if they are working or towards what they are working, and so on. So the message that we wanted to give today with this presentation is that we strongly encourage everyone to invest in product analytics. It can be product analytics from NPAW or from any provider, but do product analytics, because this will support your creativity, this will support your results, and will enable this new, let's say, time that we'll get into right now, using AI to improve our own processes and way to work. That's it. Thank you.
These days, I'm CCO of Backscreen, OTT video platform provider. But before, like during 24 years of my professional lifetime, 80% was on operator side. My DNA is product, and now I'm more into BizDev side. Also, a new kid on the block is Inga. Just brief introduction.
Thanks for coming here. So many of you before lunch, I'm impressed. I'm a media expert with 20 years of experience in mainly telco setting, and I have built and driven several media propositions and addressing constant change of the industry, right, we are going through. Yeah, so that's in short. So basically all business content and product side of the experience is what I'm bringing to this panel, hopefully.
Right. And we have gathered here to help answer the question, is it worth to spend money on data? Because actually, guys, you know, I have in my pocket 10 euros. And maybe you can advise me if I should put this 10 euros into data supporting content acquisition, or maybe data supporting product development, or maybe data supporting monetization schemes. What's your bets? Round robin. Daniel.
Oh, I'm first. Thank you.
Just brief. What's your take?
I give you a lawyer's answer here. It depends. I really would say that if you don't pay attention to either of these, it's going to go into the wrong direction. So I think it's really a balance that you have to find. Now, me personally, I'm really kind of a product UX guy, so I usually pay most attention to that. But then, luckily, there's other people in the organization making sure that there is a balance.
Nikos, what's your take?
I could say that, first of all, when we say we need the data, right? When we as a TV business, we need to collect as much as data as we want from the customers. First of all, we need to identify what kind of data do we need, right? Because as we say, not every data is useful for the service. If we want to change the monetization models, if we want to add data metrics, if the startups want to negotiate different, if we want to introduce personalized advertisement, we need the data, okay? So it is in our hands to manipulate them. It's in our hands to identify the correct tools in order to handle the data in a correct manner.
Inga?
Yes, not a rocket science, of course, but also based from the experience, I would say that you need to focus on all three and be balanced. But content is definitely the first fundamental part, because we are in a content business and a storytelling business, right? So bringing content decisions is probably the first part where to start. Then technology is something which enables content to make it more user-friendly. And that we see with OTT, of course, now being a huge topic. How do you transform your technology to just a user-better technology, basically streaming? And monetization strategies and data are making it happen in the long run, right? So bringing money back to the content and technology investments.
Bruno?
My position, I'll say, mostly the same as Inga, but everything is, well, you need to be aware. So you need to understand the audience and understand the content. You cannot understand the content without understanding the audience. You cannot understand both without understanding how the product is supporting it. So I would say that we need to invest in getting out of the dark, whatever the dark or the black spot is in terms of understanding the business. And for each business, maybe this point is in a different place. But I would say that we need this overall understanding of the data.
Right. So my takeaway is that I split this 10 euro note. I put 5 euro on content analytics, 3 euro on product, and 2 on monetization analytics. This will be the takeaway from this question. If you read the data information, I mean, quite a lot of different studies show that like 50% are into live TV, then another 20% are into catch-up, which is another form of live TV, and 30% are into portal. Would it be the right conclusion that we should basically cancel all Netflixes and portal services and really like Daniel, you said it, right? If the feature is not used, remove it. Let's remove VOD. Should we or not, Bruno?
Well, as Daniel said as well, there's a lot of signal, a lot of noise, and that's why we need to have this big picture understanding, because sometimes we can have a lot of consumption of live TV, but how's the contribution of that consumption into your monetization? If it's only based on ads, is it really contributing to your viewing time? Is it based on number of reproductions or based on play time? It's based on one specific segment of your audience or the whole audience? Because you can have an important part of your audience that is super, let's say, profitable, and it's expecting VOD. So you need to understand the different communities, I would say, that you have in your audience to be able to provide to them what they want to buy and what they want to invest on.
I would like to follow up on that. I love this question usually, especially here also a lot we have heard about linear TV not really dying, and it's true. If you look at the data today, then especially in CEE region, linear TV is really strong. But if you deep dive, then it's actually maybe 10 to 20 channels, which are local commercial stations, which are driving this viewership. And then it's an older demographics. So from my side, I think it's very important and critical, actually, more than to the 70% of linear viewing to watch at the remaining 30, because it's showing the future trends, right, where a customer wants to meet you in a longer run. And sometimes, as we know, when data shows you that you have to change, it's too late, right? So you need to adapt and see some kind of signals before it's actually too late for you to change your strategies, also in terms of content, or the same applies for technology. One thing which I love a lot to do, actually, to look to time travel, as to say, so going to the more mature markets, let's say Nordic, right now, right, like according to NPAW analysis just recently also published, but we also can, of course, find this data a lot. It's a OTT-driven market, it's technology-driven market, and you can see more or less like how the customer will behave in a longer run. So traditional TV will decline, it's not going to be sustainable for you, but it's very important, of course, not to kill it too early, right? But in short, fragmentation not only in terms of different platforms, but of course in terms of what content is actually needed is...
If you allow me, sorry for the interruption, Inga. What you're saying about the balance between the live TV and the VOD content, it also depends what platform you're running, right?
Of course.
Yeah, talking about OTE and Cosmote TV, mostly we drive the sports content, right? So actually looking at the numbers and checking that most of our users watch live TV, it is reasonable because we used to, sell football to the people, right? So we expect the live TV is going to be huge. The numbers are going to be huge,
For
right? This
TV,
is what
yes.
I wanted to add. Depends on the platform you're running.
I think in a way what I would like to ask or put as a remark here is trust the data, but don't always trust your interpretation, right? So in that case, if you look at it, where does that data come from? It comes from platforms where you typically see for an operator set-top box what's going on. Because last time I checked, most of the streamers were not actually publishing any data whatsoever about that topic or very rough data. So I would question whether today it's actually accurate with that split or if it doesn't look slightly different at the end of the day, right?
If I can comment as well, I
Yeah,
believe
sure.
that it's a very good way. But I believe that in the end we are all competing for attention and for time from the audience, and depends on the type of experience that people want to have. If you want to have to see a live football game, you always want to see a live football game. This won't change, never. But if you want to have, I don't know, a passive viewing while you're scrolling on your phone or cooking, you have like the news there. I know the guys from news, so sorry about that, but sometimes it's like that. But it depends on the experience, I believe, so.
I agree, yes. Attention, exactly. In gaming, that's where we come competing as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there might be one point that's culturally a bit different between different territories, right? I mean, the US is probably the extreme example where the TV is just on. If you count that as consumption,
Yeah.
then it's skewing the whole thing a little bit.
In my mother's house, it's like that. She have replaced me by a television, so it's always on.
Exactly.
If we count that playtime, yeah.
My takeaway is that you really need to be careful and do not play smart with the numbers, because if you play smart, you just end up with personal power games. You just need to be accurate and put the things in the context and perspective to really get the right insights. Right, but where do we get the data and how to get the data? There are some organizations, some even state organizations, which basically do not ask people if they can collect the data about their citizens. Could we act like this, or do we need something different? Nikos, you touched on this in your presentation.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my presentation. We need the customer consent. This is the key, actually, right? So if we need to collect the data, we need to somehow convince our customers and to convince in order for them to accept you providing all the data. We need to have personalized content for them. We need to save time for the customers, right? When you have a perfect recommendation engine, you save time. Not enough people have 2 hours a day to watch TV. So even for me, during the weekend, I've got half an hour, so I need to have the specific content, the specific time, right? So this is very, very super important.
From your practice, what works? What is the catch to convince consumer to give you the consent, from your operator perspective?
Mm-hmm. This is a tough, this is a challenge for us, right? We cannot know, we need to align with the GDPR, we need to align with the regulations, so we cannot actually force the customer to consent, but we need to identify new ways in order to change his mind, right?
Inga?
Well, I agree, yes, just maybe a little bit more to add to it. Exactly, recommendations is actually, from our experience, is also which helps a lot, because you have to be building a trust with the customers and explaining what's the reason why are you using the data, right? And if you do it in a nicer way and you say that it actually will improve your experience in the end of the day, which is recommendation, is actually helping a lot to get this consent from the end customer.
Exactly, yeah. This is one idea.
Trust and, yes, trust and transparency.
Yeah. Any tricks from Daniel's side?
You're asking the Swiss guy. That means there's no GDPR in Switzerland, so it's not the same. We have obviously data privacy law, but it's a bit easier to basically stick to those requirements, because we need to inform. First and foremost, it needs to be at every step, the information needs to be there, but we don't need actually to collect the consent. Obviously, we do offer that people can switch off data collection, but it's an opt-out kind of thing, plus inform. So it's a bit a different situation. Yeah. And we don't see anyone opting out, honestly.
My experience from my operators years is that in majority consumers are passive, so they are quite following the direction you as operator push them towards. So, I mean, you need to design this consent system in a clever manner so that in a certain way you catch these customers not very deliberately and willingly saying yes, but having the yes somewhere on the way and in the proper context. But having said that, you cannot abuse this position that you have as operator, because you will be heavily penalized. So it's a kind of a little bit tricky game, maybe a little bit of gray zone, but that's how to achieve the results. You just need to be fair, not to abuse your position. That's my take.
I believe so as well. But I believe that you guys could show, a screen saying, you don't want us to collect your data, so your recommendations won't work. We won't be able to buy the content that you like. We won't broadcast your football game, your preferred team's football game. So I believe that in a way as well, of course we need to be ethical in the way that we use data and so on, but try to explain more or to show more to the user that the personalization will give them a better experience.
Right. Let's talk about this €5 that I would bet on the analytics for content. What would be the few practical use case? How could analytics support the content acquisition? Inga, can you comment on this?
Oh, a tough one. First of all, it's a little bit also kind of, creative side we are stepping into. So quoting also Bob Iger, right? And I think how many content people are here? Okay, so I think you will agree with me. So you have to be very careful with the data, because you still are kind of entering into storytelling and the creativity side. So you need to have a lot of gut feeling and also actually experience to make a content-driven decisions. But I think such top 3 maybe simple ones are usually to look at the content which will bring you a new customer. But more important that after, let's say, House of Dragons, they don't churn, what content will actually keep the customer on your platform. And that's, I think, is the most important part. But another thing, which is also, I guess, talking about the content, there is a huge shift happening right now in the industry. And I was not maybe surprised, but yes, I think a lot of speakers already also emphasized that success criteria for the industry is changing. If before it was more about number of customers, so if you had 1 million, it was great, so you could actually kind of justify your content spend. Then now it's really turning into profitability, how you can make maximum money out of each and every customer. And that's where also content decisions can't be so simple, 70% are watching TV, because it's commodity. It's not something which will bring you these new customers or keep them engaged on the platform and actually allocate the money they are spending on the content, right? So 2 things, probably local content. That works everywhere, and it also, the data shows also just, Plum research just presented in your data. And there are several use cases also for territories like Baltic or EMEA, where actually platforms who are bringing local content and producing local content are able to fight with the global platforms. But again, since the profitability is actually a huge word also for global platforms now, so it's actually good news, I think, because it brings us towards the partnership, and already 25% of bundle deals are coming through telcos. So it's good for the platforms, it's good for the telcos, and then of course the product comes to play, right? How do you integrate it all in one-stop shop where customer can find what they want to watch?
Inga, you mentioned, sorry for this, you mentioned the churn. This is trivial, this is a key word. I was reading an article for the US market, a company doing the churn analysis for a broadcaster in the US, identified that before the customer leave the service, they were watching many movies. You know why? Because they couldn't find series into this platform, okay? So they were, they were watching many movies, and then they turn off the subscription.
It's a typical one, yeah.
So practically, you don't know, this is the magic thing with the data. You don't know this year what you don't know next year, okay? So, yeah.
Maybe just a brief straight question to Inga. How often have you used the data argument in negotiating content price?
Always. On negotiating the price, always. But producing the content, I would say that there is no data, right? You can look at the genres, okay, comedy, criminal, drama, that's kind of always a safe bet. But to create a really storytelling which will be appealing to your market and audiences, this is something which requires a little bit more of skill sets which you acquire over the years. Yes, so I don't think maybe IE will be so great one day that it will be really having this human skill set to feel the market and us humans basically, right?
If you say always, my €5 are safe. Regarding the €3 and data supporting product development, Daniel, what would be your practical use case? How can this information support product superiority?
I'm still a bit sad that you only put €3. We maybe have to discuss that later.
Okay, 3.5. Are you fine with 4.5? 4.50?
€3?
No, just transfer 50.
First you have to invest more, actually, right? Because it's CapEx, so you build a good technology.
We'll discuss
and then
later.
You can
Go ahead, Daniel.
probably have less, yeah. Content is something you need on a yearly basis, a daily basis, but yeah. So you can have more.
In a way, essentially, how I look at the whole product development, which is basically also the UX development topic, you can start really simple. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? So people are used to certain patterns of how to use services, so it shouldn't be looking completely different. And I sometimes compare that to that it should be like you're finding your way in your apartment even if the light is not switched on. Word of warning, if you have kids, don't do that because there might be Lego bricks and that hurts like hell when you step on it. Additionally, just use all the data that you can get. So for us, I mentioned it before in my talk, it's a mix of 5-6 different things, starting with the NPS, all the feedback that you get on feedback forms that we have integrated in the apps, things like player tracking to see whether there are any streaming issues, right? Really important, because if people are paying and can't watch it with a good quality, that's not going to end well. And then what we are missing a bit today, I would say, and there I was really interested in asking you a question, if that's the same for you. We are missing today basically all data that shows us what the customers are doing from the point on when they land on your home screen until they actually get to play your content. So basically the tracking inside the app. So I would be interested if you could raise your hand if you already have such a solution in place that you can track that.
Nikos, would you like to add to this? From your
no,
product
I would like to add something, like one sentence. We spend a fortune in video content, so we need not to be cheap on technology.
Okay. That's a good one as well.
Right. Cheap, expensive. We are left with this €2 on monetization. So, Jan, how would you deal with this €2? And Jan says, basically, we need to consider two different monetization schemes. One historically more typical for broadcaster, which is more about advertisement. The other about subscriptions, more typical for operator. I will leave operator monetization to comment for you, but covering from the broadcaster perspective, I would say nowadays there is some kind of war going on between broadcasters and the internet giants about the advertisement budgets. because like a new generation of marketers grows up and they basically spend more money and more on Google and Facebook. And I mean, it's again like a kind of famous title and buzz title from all the different publications that yes, in this country, in this quarter, the spend on internet advertisement exceeded spend on TV advertisement. So somehow the TV guys try to recoup it, and here data is crucial because data enables higher CPM, and as importantly, follows the mindset of new generations of marketers. So it's inevitable to embrace it, although it's not that easy. What kind of exact advertising product should be forged based on this data and how it should coexist, coincide with the legacy monetization schemes, with GRP logic, all this dynamic insertion thing, addressable TV. I would say it's rather kind of technology potential, which somehow needs to be converted into business. It's not very clear how, but for sure it must happen in order to like improve the position of broadcasters in eating the advertisement pies. That's like from the broadcaster perspective. From the operator perspective, if you can comment, maybe from this direction. Inga, you were in operator shoes for a long time.
Sorry?
Monetization?
Data supporting monetization, subscriptions, so terms like acquisition, retention, value of customer.
Getting back to the first and most important success criteria everybody is looking now, profitability. I think advertising definitely will be in agenda for the next 2-3 years for operators. Maybe less, of course, for the cable platforms, which is historically really driven in this market, but with OTT, it's an extra opportunity for operators to monetize content and have an extra revenue stream, and also, again, addressing the fragmentation for the customers who probably would be happy to pay less and still watch advertisings, right?
Right. Nico?
For the subscriptions.
Yeah. Data, subscriptions, how data could support subscription monetization.
Mm-hmm. As I was saying, we need to check what data we can collect because this is very important about the subscriptions as well, right? So if we want to monetize, if we need to change the monetization models, yes, we need to collect all the correct data, even for the subscriptions as well.
Daniel?
I would say maybe just zooming in on one topic that keeps me sometimes busy. Everyone's chasing activations, right? New customers, but the churn topic should never be neglected in there, right? And there's a lot that you can do. I think we are on our side only at the beginning of what is possible. We try to come up with modeling for churn propensity, so basically seeing famous churn prediction that everyone wants to do, right? And then proactively approaching these customers that are that are at the point where it's getting more probable that they will churn. I think that's where there is really, for me personally, a big lever where we can change things and make sure that the commercial side works as well.
And Bruno, judging from your position of cross-operator perspective, how do you see this churn prediction model being adopted by different operators?
Wow. So for churn prediction and churn prevention, it's largely, let's say, known as a need that we need to have and so on to understand the customers that are more likely to churn. So this is easy, to be honest. If you take like the user's characteristics and patterns of behavior, consumption, you can point out with a certain considerable precision the ones that are more trending to churn. But I believe that the important thing is to know why are they churning and what can we do to make them stay. So sometimes, and that's what we want to do with data, is to provide good let's say signals. To Daniel, for instance, they had a very good strategy on providing pause, let's say, between seasons of football and so on. So this is a very good strategy to retain users. But as he said, it's out of common sense. What I argue is that common sense and also the surveys are also data in a way, so knowledge and so on. And I believe that from the churn perspective, we need to be able to measure the product as a whole identify the users and identify what can we do, what are the actions that we can do to make them stay, and support that with data.
Right. The data on the screen shows that it's food time. Do we know any song about food? No, so we'll just end.
Remember now, yeah.
Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you very much, the audience, for being here with us, and enjoy the conference further.
Thank you.